Howdy to all you Aggies out there. Welcome in. It's another Town Hall edition with our Director of Athletics, Ross Bjork. And as always, I'm Will Johnson alongside Andrew Monaco. And we had a terrific amount of questions once again submitted to us for Ross. You can always go to 12thman.com/askross if you have a question for our AD. I think we set a record last time with it was about 14 of them. We got 10 more today. Now, 3 of them we learned was
kind of
pretty much the same topic. So we're going to give credit to 3 Aggies, but ask the same question there. But the 12th man is responding. A lot to talk about, a lot they want to know. But after – I have to start with a question of my own because after the weekend, the busy weekend with baseball at LSU, the NIT basketball situation going on here, and softball, did Andrew ever find out what transverse means?
Yes.
When Ross said you're essentially a transverse announcer.
Transverse announcer.
Yeah. Are you understanding of that? Now, do you have a better understanding of that?
After Googling, yes. Yes, I do.
Because you work the Google machine.
Situated or extending across something.
Yes.
As Ross said, transverse properties.
Transverse announcer.
And you crossed the Sabine into Louisiana a
couple of times
sitting in this same room and back.
Well, actually, and really what sparked that comment by me about saying transverse is we actually we left the softball game on Friday night. My wife and I, Sonia and I, we went to the tennis match and then we went to the softball game. Softball game's over, and I turn on the radio in the car on the way home, and Andrew's calling the baseball game, and I'm going, wait a second. We're playing basketball at 11 tomorrow. I know he's calling that game. Is he in Baton Rouge? I don't think we have a plane or a helicopter taking him back and forth.
Oh, you have one. I don't have one.
We do. I guess we could have. We could have, I guess. Somebody has a helicopter. And so I'm like, so I saw Andrew right before the basketball game, and I said, hey, wait a second. I said, you're here. I said, Baton Rouge. I said, remote, He's like, yeah, 12th man studio, called the game, got it pulled up on the screens, watching the feed of the game, and then calling it on the radio. But the way the production sounds so good, it's like you're in the ballpark.
Yeah.
I mean, and so it sounded like he was there in Baton Rouge, and then Sutton tweets that out about how great of a job he does, and he's covering everything, and mentions you about softball.
Yep.
And I'm like, Baton Rouge to College Station.
Yeah.
Back to Baton Rouge by a 6 o'clock game on Saturday, and then a 2 o'clock game on Sunday. That's a transverse announcer.
Yeah.
That was it. But I had to look it up. I can't lie.
You
and I have 2 very different educations, so I had to.
Not really, but yeah.
Now you're gonna have to
But that was
explain
fun.
that.
That was
That was
fun
a fun
because
weekend.
that is what we have in the spring, right? Here on campus and with our teams throughout the SEC.
Hey, look, and I hope you miss some more baseball games.
I'm with you
for calling basketball.
I'm absolutely with you.
Yeah, you need to
That'd
be
be good
in
fun.
New York City.
Yeah,
we're hoping.
We hope.
I hope very soon, but more on that later. Speaking of a busy spring, the 12th man. They're busy. A lot of questions again today. Another great town hall coming your way because, like we said, 10 questions coming in. We also had one that we might get to. It's a little interesting that actually I think it came from an employee of athletics that had a question for you. We may get to that later. But we're going to start with football. They're in the midst of spring ball. Pro Day is going on. April 9th is our maroon and white game here at Kyle Field. And as you might always expect, you're going to have some football questions here at Texas A&M. And I had to lead off with this guy because he submitted on February 28th. He submitted before March, before the March Town Hall. Plus, I love small-town Texas, and I love it even more when it's near my hometown. So Henry John Stavanoa Jr. leads us off from Schulenburg, Texas. And he asks, when Texas and OU join the conference, do you expect the league to go to a 9-game football schedule within the SEC? Also, would they create pods? He even suggests his pods for you. Do you want to hear him?
I see him right here.
You can see him,
Exactly.
You can take his suggestion, but basically he is asking, are we going to pods? Are we seeing 9 games on the SEC football schedule?
Yeah, so what I'll do here, Henry, is it Henry John?
Henry John Stavanoa,
both names. Henry John is. I'll give you my personal opinion on this because obviously I'm one of 14, but I do think that more SEC games are valuable. So my personal preference is that we go to 9 games. And so there's still conversations that have to take place. We had a meeting the end of January with all the athletic directors. We had a meeting during the SEC basketball tournament. We talked scheduling. We have a meeting at the end of April. These are all in-person meetings, and scheduling is dominating those conversations. And so you're really looking at all kinds of models: 8-game model, 9-game model, pods, single division, permanent opponents. So my personal preference is to go to 9 games, conference games. And then the pods actually, when we've looked at all these formulas, they actually create some challenges with a podding system. So there's still a lot we have to learn about how do pods work versus the alternative is you have permanent opponents. You could have 1 permanent opponent. You could have maybe 3. If you're playing 9 games, you'd have a 3 permanent opponent and a 6-game rotation. So you'd really see everybody within a 4-year window. If you have 1 permanent opponent, then you're definitely seeing everybody more often. So those are all the options that are on the table. I think by the late spring, early summer, we'll have a really good sense of here's the format. May not have all the matchups and if it's pods or permanent opponents and who's in each of those sections, but I think we'll have a really good idea on the format, and then we can kind of debate, okay, who's going to be matched up with who, and that'll be the really, really probably sticky conversations that we'll have. So a lot more to come, but my preference is to go to 9 games, more SEC games. Our fans want to see that. That kind of relates to your next question that we'll get into, and so that's my perspective.
We were headed this way anyway when this rotation of schedules came out, right? That was the discussion about doing this for football to see opponents more frequently.
When SEC expanded back in 2011-12, we had a 2-year stopgap schedule, and actually, being at Ole Miss, A&M came to Ole Miss 2 years in a row. Unfortunately, for Ole Miss, it was Johnny Football who traveled to Oxford. But we at Ole Miss, we had to go to Vanderbilt 2 years in a row for a road game. And so this is a 12-year cycle, and the last year of the 12 years is 2026. So we're going to kind of short-circuit that. Expansion happens in the fall of 25, and we'll have a new model. And there's probably going to be some wrinkles the first couple of years to get everything evened out. What those are, we don't know yet, but it's going to be fascinating. Yeah. And this will be a topic that won't go away. That's for sure.
Well, Henry John, he wants A&M in the West pod with the Aggies, Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas.
So
that's your pod suggestion for the Aggies.
And again, pods versus permanent opponents, they may not be much different. Right? Pods sort of create your championship game, meaning your pods are almost more like divisions, where if you have just permanent opponents, maybe you have a single division and 1 and 2 match up in the championship game. And so those are all the things that are on the table for discussion.
All right. Sutton Turner would return for the March Town Hall Aggie class of 93 from right here in College Station. And Sutton asks, first, he references a Dennis Dodd article from March on CBSSports.com that football attendance across all of the FBS hit the lowest attendance in 22 years and the greatest percentage decline in 34 years. Even the SEC has seen decline. However, A&M is investing in the game day experience with Aggie Park, more premium seating, and things we probably don't even know about. So he asks you, Ross, how do you keep A&M and the Kyle Field experience bucking the national trend in attendance for the next generation of Aggies?
Multifaceted approach here in many ways. And so I think you have to probably look at several different sort of categories here. I think ticket price is always going to be something that people are going to look at and say, can I afford to go? Or, hey, I've been a long-term season ticket holder and I'm going to budget for this and I know what the cost is, year in and year out. So I think sort of value and ticket price will always be part of what we have to be mindful of. We sell out premium seats. We sell out most of the seats between the goal lines and the end zones. Where we struggle is in those upper deck end zones. And so how do we fill those seats on a more consistent basis? How do we keep people wanting to come to games and experiencing traffic and the crowds, and we don't want to go backwards for sure. We don't want to be one of those trends, that we're seeing across the country. And for us last year, I mean, it was great. I mean, people commented about, obviously the Alabama game kind of set the bar, but people talked about, hey, it wasn't quite full, but the atmosphere was fun. So that's the next category, is the in-game atmosphere has to be where people say, I'm not going to miss that. So here we have tradition that's unmatched. So we have that going for us. So we can always keep and maintain that. But then we sprinkled in, different music and different styles and different flavors of keeping people engaged. And so I think we have to make it fun. So that's the in-game experience. And so those are all the things that we have to keep top of mind. And then scheduling. Who we playing? To me, that's why the Arkansas game being played in Dallas, that's an SEC game. That is prime inventory, and those games need to be played on campus. So that's why I'm in favor of the 9-game schedule, because one year you're going to have 5 SEC home games. The next year you have 4, and you'll sprinkle in your Power 5 opponent when you have 4 SEC home games. But I think scheduling is a big part of it as well. And then what happens to concessions? What happens to ease of access with those concessions? We're actually working on some different concepts where we have sort of real easy check-in and check-out concessions, almost like convenience store. And, and people think of it, those Amazon stores, right, where it's all sort of cashless and touchless. And you walk in, you grab a water, grab a can of beer, and you walk out, and it automatically scans your credit card through technology. So we're actually looking at some things like that. So lots of different things that go into it. And then it helps to win. So let's keep recruiting. Let's keep recruiting these top 5 classes, these number 1 classes. Obviously, that's why we made the investment in Coach Fisher. And so there's a lot of buckets to this, Sutton, that we're going to keep working on every day.
Final football question actually references one of those non-conference games, the Power 5 teams that you scheduled. James Miller, he's class of 05, coming to us from Victoria. And he asks, when does Ross expect to get the game times for the first couple of football games? He's thinking specifically about the Miami game September 17th.
That's third week, right?
Yeah, week 3.
Yeah, so normally what happens is we have SEC spring meetings the Tuesday after Memorial Day. And typically right around that period of time, we'll get the first 3 weeks matchups and the game times. So I would say the end of May, 1st of June, James, where we're going to have the first 3 weeks. And then after that, it gets into the 12-day window cycle. CBS has the first pick, and then ESPN, SEC Network all work together. The good thing, and this is more than he asked, the good thing in our new ESPN agreement that kicks in the fall of 24, we're actually going to have game time windows that we can look at in the summer. So people can say, hey, that game's either going to be at 3 o'clock or at 7 o'clock. And we'll know early on. And so that was one of the things that we really pushed on in the negotiation with ESPN is these 12-day windows, they don't work. People can't plan. You can't plan events. And so we've got to be better, and that's something that ESPN listened to, and we'll make better moving forward. Actually, I just saw Coach Slocum leaving Pro Day, and he said, hey, do you know when the Mississippi State game is going to be? And he goes, you know what, never mind. He goes, I know it's going to be part of the the TV selection process.
Yeah.
So moving forward, we'll have better windows on game times.
Yeah. And those first games that James is referencing, September 3rd is the opener, Sam Houston State. September 10th, Appalachian State here at Kyle Field. And then September 17th, the Miami Hurricanes come in. So act quickly on coming to Kyle Field. It's 3 at home right away.
Right.
Then we're going to pack the bags for a little while, and then we're going to come back to Kyle Field late October and on through November. So thank you, James, for that question. That's 3 football questions down. We'll shift topics just a little bit. And their topics you've answered quite a bit on in these town halls, but we'll go with Lee Cruz, class of 89 from Woodsboro first. Can you talk about the progress towards the capital campaign and what projects we'll see started and completed according to the timeline?
Yeah. Actually, towards the end of April is when we will announce publicly the progress of the capital campaign, our centennial campaign. We'll have images of the projects. We'll have more specific timelines on when projects will start. We have to actually demo some buildings, so when demolition will start, when site planning will start, and then when those projects will be completed. So, Lee, stay tuned towards the end of April. But I will tell you that our capital campaign is off to a great start. And what you want to do in these capital campaigns is there's the quiet phase. And our 12th Man Foundation staff, they're doing a phenomenal job. Our donors are stepping up in a big way. So we're making great progress in our fundraising goal for the capital campaign. And so we'll give those specifics in April. And then you're going to start seeing, people won't really notice it, but we're going to actually start taking pieces of the indoor track, the current indoor track stadium right now. Like on Monday, we start the video board. We start to take apart the video board because we're actually going to be able to repurpose that. We're going to start taking memorabilia that's in that building out of that building and start to sort of deconstruct the indoor track facility. So we're actually starting end of March.
Yeah, less than a week.
The public, when we kind of hit middle of May, 1st of June, we'll start seeing construction fences and things like that happening around not only this part of campus, around Kyle Field, around the indoor track, but also on the West Campus, where we're going to build a new indoor track stadium. So all of those things people are going to start to see in May and June.
All right.
And we'll have facilities. Some of these facilities will be done in the summer and early fall of 2023. I mean, so we're on an aggressive timeline. Fundraising is going really well, and all the approval processes are all going through the regents, and they've been great and supportive, and we just have to stay on track, and people are going to see some great progress.
All right. Thank you, Lee. And one more facilities question, a common one to you on these town halls. This comes to us from Guillermo Trevino. He submitted through Twitter. Any progress on the evaluation of remodeling Reed Arena versus building a new arena? Also, any consideration to selecting a different site closer to students?
Yeah. As far as any progress, it's really kind of hard to say if there's progress. Have we had continued conversations? Do we have continued thoughts on what are the options? Is it remodel versus new arena? Absolutely. I always say facilities are time and money. And so the time it takes to analyze that, the time it takes to get things off the ground from architects to approvals, it takes longer than I think what people realize. And so we're continuing to have those conversations on what the right approach is. But there's nothing that says, hey, by this date, we have to have this decision. We're not to that point at this stage. As far as any sites, it's hard to say what does he mean by closer to students. I think we have around 11 or 12,000 students that live, quote unquote, on campus. Mm-hmm. But we also know we have lots of students that live near the West Campus, right? Park West as an example. And so I think closer to students, what does he mean by that? Is it where they live or is it where classes are? A&M's a big campus. There's lots of places where you could say, hey, that would make sense to put it here. That would make sense to put it over here. Reed Arena is actually a great location. Transportation, parking, traffic flow. It's actually it's next to our great practice facility. So it's actually a great location. So the site, I don't know if the site is going to necessarily be a monumental decision because I think you could go lots of different directions because there's advantages depending on where you would, could put a new building. So site is not as much a part of it as is it new? Is it renovation? What do you get out of renovation? What do you get out of a new building? Where would it go? So we're continuing the evaluation on what's the right approach.
All right. Speaking of Reed Arena, it will be the home to a new women's basketball coach.
Yeah,
soon.
That's right.
And that's the topic that received three questions from three different Aggies.
Man, I'm glad people are asking about this.
Yeah. We've got to credit all of them. Jeff Ward, class of '98 from the Woodlands, asked about this. Dr. Jack Pierce, class of '68 from Corsicana, asked, and Wandering Ag from Spring also asked.
I wonder.
Yeah.
Who Wondering Ag is. That's a good name. We like that.
That's right.
Whoever you are, Wondering Ag. We appreciate that.
So Jeff Ward, class of 98, Dr. Pierce, class of 68, and Wondering Ag,
Yeah.
all essentially ask the same question. So it amounts to, could you give an update on the search for a new women's basketball coach?
Yeah, I feel great about where we are right now in the process, and I would just tell people that we're finalizing some things. We're getting close. And so, but I feel really, really strong about our process and the process we went through and all the interviews and the contacts that we made. So I would say for people just to stay tuned, and as soon as we put all the final touches on it, we'll make an announcement and be ready to roll and create a lot of excitement.
And I've already
So is that an answer but a non-answer?
Well,
stay tuned.
How much answer can you give?
Yeah, if they wanted a name, they're going to be disappointed.
Right,
but if
right.
they wanted an update,
that was an update.
We're getting closer.
I'm pretty sure Jeff,
Final touches.
Dr. Pearson, Wandering Ag knew they weren't going to get a name yet.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
That's a little tough.
But I think the excitement that we're trying to create and make sure that we hire the right person and the right leader, that's I think that's why I'm excited about kind of where we're headed. So,
well, have you seen Coach Blair already started the TV career?
Yeah.
He's
Love
on
it.
SEC now with the tournament talk. So.
I love it.
And I wish we could see. I really do. I wish we could watch Gary watching the games before they come on set. To watch a game with Gary would be fascinating. I think they are just making that entire SEC Now crew smarter.
Yeah.
I really do. He's just been fantastic.
He has
though.
been. Yeah. It's fun. I saw him on Friday night at the softball game, and I said, Coach, do you have your suit picked out and your tie? And he said he's been working on that all week to make sure that he just looks the part. I said, Coach, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Will, there's a question for you. Who in SEC Now has to tell him to wrap up? That's got to be
someone who's not getting heard.
He's got the earpiece.
Someone who's being tuned out. I guarantee.
Right. He's got the earpiece.
What producer? I hope it's not up to Alyssa
He may
Lang.
not.
I hope they don't.
He may not. With some guests you don't always do that, but there might be someone on that set.
I hope they're not making Alyssa Lang on air saying, "Cut it off, Coach. Come on."
But if you did have an earpiece, don't you think he'd pull the old Mikey Honer and just take it out?
Take it out.
I'm not listening.
Yeah. Gary Blair has stuff to say. You're all going to listen.
They would. They'd probably have to start playing that music, like when they have the Academy
the
Awards
rollout
and
music.
Someone's like talking too long.
Some people
they just start playing the music.
Yeah. Some people give those speeches and they don't care.
Yeah, but the problem is if Gary likes that selection of music, he's going to talk about that right there.
Yeah, that's right.
I heard this tune in 1975 when I was at SF.
Yeah.
He'll go reminisce.
Good old Coach. I'm glad he's doing that. Glad he's getting some exposure.
I think it's a brilliant idea to bring him in.
Game. Absolutely.
Fantastic.
All right, a couple more to go. Going to switch topics on this one. This was submitted through Twitter. This comes from Sassy Aggie. All right, so important for the team. This is a baseball question. Switching over to baseball here. So important for the team to see fans in seats, especially behind home plate in the premium seats. Any talk of how to fill those seats? I know there's the club aspect, but I feel it's important for us to show up, she puts in quotations, for the team and for TV. Same with a few empty suites upstairs.
This is a tough one from Sassy Aggie because we sold out of season tickets this year in baseball. So technically there are no tickets available. Now we have some bleachers and some general admission, but as far as reserved seating, so we sold out a season. So that's a big accomplishment to be able to do that. And so that's where the kind of the angst comes in, I think, from her standpoint is, hey, the tickets are sold, but not everybody can come to every game. And so you get into some of those Tuesday night games, maybe a Sunday game. I think this weekend's going to be great. Right. The weather's going to be perfect. We had a great series against LSU. Play Rice tonight. I think it's going to be a phenomenal, weekend. Spring break is over. The students are back. So I think they're going to fill it up. So this weekend's probably not an issue. But we have a plan. We have a program where people can exchange tickets, and our 12th Man Foundation, the ticket office, they have a great program in place. It's just a matter of I've got that ticket in my pocket or my desk drawer. I know I'm not going. What am I going to do with it? And so it's just really just we can encourage our donors and our fans and to give tickets away, but in the heat of the moment, sometimes it just may not happen. And so I think it's a good reminder that there's always something we can do. But I think we have the right programs. We have a ticket exchange. Everything's digital. You can forward, pass along, transfer your tickets. We have all the platforms. I think it's just, hey, in the heat of the moment, what's somebody going to do when they know they can't make those games? So.
And you mentioned sold out of season tickets. Crowds have been good, and there's already you had to alter some schedule a little bit already. You've already played 2 doubleheaders, which are not easy. And
right.
I know Coach Schlossnagel's not a huge fan of them, but you had a Penn game that was 37 degrees. Through it all, pretty good crowds already out there at Bluebell Park.
Right.
So.
Had the game before the basketball game last Tuesday night. Great crowd, and then a lot of people came over and watched basketball. So. It's something that's there, and I think we have the right kind of programs. I think it's just a matter of continuing to educate and promote what we have.
So one more from the fan base, and then maybe we get the internal employee question a little later. Curious Ag from Houston. You had Wondering Ag from Spring. Now you have Curious Ag from Houston. Maybe of relation.
I wonder. I'm curious.
Yeah, it might be related. But,
maybe they're related. Either way, they care. They're submitting questions.
That's right. That's right. Well, as we know, Texas A&M basketball is in the NIT, and Wake Forest is up next for a chance to go to Madison Square Garden in New York City for the Final Four there. Curious Ag asks, in regards to our men's basketball program, can you help Aggies understand what you did as an AD to support Coach Williams and address the bias that Coach brought up regarding not being selected for the NCAA basketball tournament?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let's give credit, to our coaches and our players for what they've really done the last, 12 games? Are we 10 out of 12? Is that what we've won?
Yep.
I think 10 out of 12. For really just how we finished and the response that Coach Williams has had, and just getting these guys to just play at a high level. It's been really fun, and we obviously we want that to continue. And we made all the NIT games free, so I think tomorrow night it's going to be packed. I think it could, to me, it should be right up there with that Kentucky atmosphere.
I'm with you.
Let's pack it out. There's no reason not to. We got all the students back in town. We're making sure that we let them in early, so we want the students there. So the question about what have I done to help Aggies understand what I did to support Coach Williams? There's a lot there. I can tell you, months leading up to selection, weeks leading up, we have an SEC contact that we can reach out to. You can't really lobby the committee, right? You can't really access that, but I've got relationships with all the committee members on the basketball committee. We have somebody representing the SEC, Greg Byrne, the Alabama athletic director. We have what they call monitors. So there's committee members that are assigned conferences. So the SEC does a great job of interfacing with them and giving them a lot of data. Obviously, we're one of the teams that the SEC is giving, because we were alive, right? We were alive down the stretch. And so the SEC is providing that data. And then when we didn't get selected, we want to know why, what happened. And so I've talked to several committee members, talked to Commissioner Sankey to understand really what the process is like. And there should not be any bias. And really what Coach was talking about is, and how he led into this was, he looked at the backgrounds of everybody on the committee. Where'd they work? Who have they worked for? Where'd they go to school? So he wanted to look and understand, the backgrounds of all of those people. And at the end of the day, it comes down to 12 people and 12 votes. And we didn't get enough votes among those 12 people. And my understanding and what we've learned is that the process starts getting finalized really before the conference tournament plays happen. And so to be able to kind of work your way in the last week as an at-large team, it's really, really hard. And so to me, that's the part that's really unfair, is that, granted, we had the 8-game losing streak, but we still finished 9-9. We tied for 5th in the SEC. You have the SEC, indicating that, hey, we think Texas A&M is a tournament, worthy team. We should have no one should ever really be off the radar unless you have a losing record.
which we didn't
going into
not in
conference
conference
play.
and so what gets lost is there's a 7-game winning streak, counting the tournament.
That's right.
But it's a winning streak going in. That was my problem.
So
is
body of the whole body of work. It shouldn't matter when you win or lose games. It should be body of work. So what we've kind of found out is that this process gets finalized maybe too soon. Mm-hmm. And again, as an at-large team, which unless we would have won on Sunday, working your way up, it's hard because the brackets are set. I think the committee chairman even said pretty much on Friday everything was in place. Well, why should it be done on Friday?
Right.
Why not let every game play out, every piece of analysis play out? And so that's what we're doing to support Coach and our players and our program, and there'll be ongoing conversations. Coach's document that he put out there, that's made its way to committee members. That's made its way to NCAA staff members. Commissioner Sankey has a copy of it, and so we want to use that to make the process better. And it's unfortunate that we got left out this year, but how do we make the process better? And that's what we're going to push moving forward.
Just think the target will always move. Next year it's going to be somebody else, and there might be another reason. The other hard part is Rick Barnes beats you and says A&M should be in. John Calipari at the tournament says A&M should be in. Bruce Pearl says they should be in, and then Tom Crean even says they should be in. So if a committee is just in their room, Muss said it. If they're just in that room and not watching, that's a disconnect right there.
Right.
Coaches know, and sometimes afterwards they say it because it makes their program look better, but those are coaches that you can respect. So it's that disconnect. Yeah. Yes, it was us this year. Right. Hopefully it's not. Right. The thing that gets me though, Ross, that team has always known this. Buzz will always have their back.
Right.
Every single one of them.
And people, Buzz, had his moment after the Alcorn State game, and there's a lot of feedback on that. The audience was our program, our team, our players. Look, we don't really need to satisfy some national narrative. We need to talk to our fans, and we need to talk to Aggies, and we need to make sure, like Buzz said, that he's accountable to our players and to their families. And so that's who that response was for. And look, it was heartfelt, emotional, and we supported him by making those statements and those comments. And then he had facts, and he had data, to back it up. So look, we're moving on. We're moving forward. Let's have a great game against Wake Forest. Let's support our team. Let's continue to play well. Let's get to that Final Four in New York and continue the momentum that we have.
And to that point, I can't thank the fans in this community. On Tuesday, that was a thank you to the players and the team, right? And then Saturday was even better. But that was really, really something that I thought was special on Tuesday. John Thornton said it may not be as large as the Kentucky, but he thought it was going to be the best crowd because and they gave them the thank you from the moment they came out of that tunnel. That was fantastic.
A lot of people want to see Q, play his last game, in Reed Arena tomorrow night, and just think of the things that he's accomplished and coming back for his extra year. And so I think it'll be a great way to definitely finish out Reed Arena era for those guys.
Yep.
Yeah, and hopefully on to the heralded Madison
That's
Square
right. That'd be
Garden
fun
for New York City.
Absolutely.
Final Four of the NIT. So it is 6 o'clock tomorrow. A&M and Wake, free admission. I think people know that by now, but in case you don't, one more time, free admission. Before you go, the internal question. It comes from someone who calls himself Dr. Pepper.
Okay.
Can we get free soda back in the break rooms for all employees? Where's your stance on that?
When did we take that away?
We were when we saw this question, Matt Simon, our producer, were talking about it.
COVID?
I felt like
pre-COVID?
No, I think it was a long time ago.
Oh, a long time ago.
We think we know who this individual is, and it would have been prior to their working at A&M. So it feels like a long time.
You know what? That's
sure.
I guess we'll have to look into that. We have an all staff meeting tomorrow morning. So maybe do we need to bring this up?
Do they get the answer there
at
the all-staff meeting tomorrow morning?
We want to know what happened to the free soda in the break rooms. We need to talk to Pepsi and see maybe they could supply us some 12-packs.
I don't think it's Wandering Ag or Curious Ag. I think Wandering or Curious Ag is outside the program. I think this is internal. So you could probably speak to them tomorrow at the all-staff.
Okay. Maybe we'll ask. Okay, who is the one who asked the question?
Right.
And will they?
Would you stand
Will
up
they raise their hand
and
That'd
explain?
be great.
What's happening here.
All
so.
right. We'll have the identity.
Good stuff. Absolutely.
If they're willing to show their identity, perhaps it will go a long way.
Yeah,
that's right.
Exactly.
But
okay, where's our transverse announcer? Rice tonight.
We
got baseball tonight.
With John Sheshik is joining me.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be fun.
And then basketball tomorrow night.
Basketball.
And then baseball this weekend.
And I'm hoping I'm going to be in New York City.
And then let's go to New York.
Can I
softball,
tell them?
We got softball tomorrow.
So
at 4.
Yeah, 4 o'clock now.
Move the game up to 4.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Against Houston Baptist.
So they can go right across the street.
That's
Basketball.
Who's on the call for that one? Matt Simon.
Matt Simon's on that.
Our producer
Play-by-play.
Matt Simon is there.
Okay.
Can I tell a tale out of school?
Absolutely.
My arm is just now recovering from getting it beat on because he and Justin Moore sat next to me during the entire SEC tournament.
All 4 games. We had our spot.
This is all that's going on.
Well,
good and bad.
Injuring it now.
And any time that we would hit a shot, I didn't punch him.
No,
it
wasn't
more
punching.
like it was like a forearm
Yeah,
shiver.
yeah.
I was just like, can you believe that?
It was worth it.
And
For
it was
that run,
awesome.
It was worth it.
It was
Yeah.
awesome. Are you kidding? It's fantastic. And I had people like, who's sitting next to you? I said, it's my AD.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then you should have seen when we had to change spots over the course of the tournament. Ross and J-Mo were like, we've got these seats, right? I was like, yeah, absolutely.
We had to keep our mojo and our streak going.
That was fun.
Not that we're superstitious.
No.
Question,
We're just a little
label,
stitious, right? Not superstitious, just a little stitious.
If there was any question,
right.
label Ross the engineer and J-Mo the statistician, and you're good. I mean,
That's
they
exactly
could just be right there.
We had a few discussions with the SEC about our courtside
Did you?
press row demeanor.
Did you?
They were just like, hey, you guys are getting a little excited. It's
You-
it's okay to be excited. Just
You do understand.
try
we're
not to stand.
neutral.
Try not to stand up.
We're not neutral media here.
Yeah, but
Try
how
not
could
to
you
stand
not
up.
stand after Haas hits the 3
That was-
in
I mean,
overtime?
yeah.
But this is what was happening at the table. Ross was kind of banging a little bit. Just
I
a
was
little
tapping.
bit,
I was
right?
tapping
and then,
like this.
And then all of a sudden, it was just a tap, yeah. And then all of a sudden, you see Bob Delaney and Greg Sankey look to the left, like they would lean forward.
Who's tapping over there?
It's Ross.
So,
I'm going.
anyway.
It's Ross. Yeah. So every time he
We had
hit me
fun.
on the shoulder, I could just tell my producer, "You might want to mark that play." Ross liked that one. That should be in the highlights.
That's right. We had some fun.
Good deal.
I'm glad your arm's getting better.
Yeah.
Much better.
Yeah.
Much
Glad
better.
it's-
In
glad it's
time
You know what?
for tomorrow night's
If we go to the Garden,
quarterfinals.
you're sitting
yeah,
right
we gotta-
next to
we
me,
gotta
and
do it.
That's
yep.
right. That's
Gotta do
right. Arm healed in time for Madison Square Garden. Good. All right. Appreciate it as
Yeah,
always,
thank
Ross.
you. Great questions. Appreciate everyone.
All right, Ross Bjork, our AD. For Andrew Monaco, I'm Will Johnson, our producer, Matt Simon, our director, McCarty Cummings. Thank you all for joining us on another edition of the Aggie Town Hall.